Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is a review of the 2009 animated film, The Haunted World of El Superbeasto. This is an animated film based on a comic that was also written by Rob Zombie, and this is a definite passion project for him. You could tell that his heart was very much in this overall film. Unlike his Halloween films, which honestly it felt like he only did them for the money and also to possibly get his foot farther in the door when it comes to studio films from big budget, well-known studios in Hollywood. Uh, Maybe he thought if he did the Halloween films and they did well enough, he might get more projects from other studios and might become a bigger name. Ultimately, despite the fact that the Halloween films actually did make a profit, he ultimately did not really get a lot of those big jobs after those films. So maybe he might have been better off taking less money and just doing projects that he wanted to do in the long run. Like this film. Uh, I don't think this is a masterpiece by any means. I don't think it's a great bit of animation, but I would be lying if I said that I didn't enjoy it. I honestly did have a lot of fun with this film. I would say it's my favorite Rob Zombie movie to date because his white trash wheelhouse, his crass sensibilities, they come across as cartoonish and unrealistic in his live action films. But in an animated form, it actually fits. This kind of dialogue, this kind of approach in an adult animated movie actually does manage to be more successful than it winds up being in any of his other films. This actually feels like it's natural instead of a forced thing. And I also admittedly am a sucker for adult animation. There are some adult animation that I don't care for at all, like Ren and Stimpy's adult party cartoon. That's the kind of edgy cartoon that's just too edgy to the point where it's not really having any fun and it's just offensive for being the sake of offensive. This does have some moments like that, and I would say that those moments are some of this film's weaker points. But it also has some other moments and points in the movie where it's offensive, it's crass, it's disgusting, but there's a point to it, and it's actually kind of funny. You know, just to see that kind of scenario unfold in this kind of film with animation and this particular kind of approach. I know other people have likened this to heavy metal or Ren and Stimpy, and I can definitely see that. And also, kind of reminded me of some of the shorts I would see on Liquid Television back in the 90s from MTV, which I also really enjoy. So, yeah, I think this is a little bit underrated. I don't think it's like a massive underrated gem by any means, but it went by at a pretty good pace. It was only like an hour and 17 minutes. I was never really bored by the film. It never completely, totally lost my interest. I got a handful of laughs from it. It has a good voice cast. The animation is pretty dynamic. And it definitely is a R-rated, mature film when it comes to its overall approach, to its jokes, to all just a absolute buttload of nudity and gore and blood and all kinds of shit. It's a crazy movie. It really is. But I think that's honestly one of the film's biggest selling points is that yeah, it's a crazy film, but that helps make it be somewhat unique. It's directed by Rob Zombie. Tom Papa also wrote it along with Rob Zombie. I think Tom Papa, being another voice, another person who's bringing their talents into the fold when it comes to the story, is a big reason why this ultimately is better than a lot of Rob Zombie's films that he wrote and directed, because you have another comedian, someone who's actually pretty established in the world of comedy, writing and adding their particular approach to the comedic moments in the story. And as a director, animation is a different kind of medium, and I'm honestly really impressed by Rob Zombie's direction when it comes to his animated movie. So much so that I would like to see more animated films from Rob Zombie. If Rob Zombie announced that I'm doing El Superbeasto 2, I'd be on board with it. I really would. So it features the voice work by Tom Papa, who plays El Superbeasto. Sheri Moon Zombie is also in this as Susie X, but she's more tolerable here because her Barbie girl personality and charisma, it tends to lend itself better to the animated form. And also, she can just focus on voice work instead of trying to be authentic in front of the camera. I'm not saying that voice actors or actresses are inferior to actors who act in front of a camera. It's a different medium, though. And I think there are instances where there are voice actors and actresses who are really good when they are doing their voiceover work, but when they are trying to act in front of a camera, they're not really as good. So I honestly think Sheri Moon Zombie is one of those actresses. I think she's a much better voiceover work actress than she is a live action actress. Paul Giamatti plays Dr. Satan, which really doesn't have any relation to Dr. Satan from House of a Thousand Corpses. It's a different character altogether. Perfect casting to play the villain. Paul Giamatti has this manic energy that is just so well suited for this kind of role. Tom Kenny, you may recognize him. He voiced a lot of different characters in this. Tom Kenny is well known for voicing SpongeBob. And Rob Zombie actually says that this is a lot like SpongeBob, an R-rated, mature SpongeBob with a little bit of Scooby-Doo. I get the SpongeBob stuff, but I don't really get the Scooby-Doo reference. I don't really think of Scooby-Doo when I watch this movie. But that's just me personally. Rosario Dawson plays Velvet Von Black. This hooker, the stripper that El Superbeasto falls in love with, that gets kidnapped by Dr. Satan, and starts this whole adventure where El Superbeasto's trying to rescue her with the help of his sister, Susie X. Brian Posehn plays Murray the Robot, which is definitely a reference to a Bela Lugosi film. I'm trying to remember what the name of the film was called, but it's definitely a reference to a Bela Lugosi movie, because the Phantom Creeps, that's what it is. It's a reference to the Phantom Creeps because the robot looks almost identical to that robot in that particular film or serial. Dee Wallace is also in this as a voice. She voices I think like a hooker in a porno. Ken Faree, he has a bit role. Jeffrey Lewis, he actually reprises his role as Roy Sullivan, and also does voiceover work for some other characters. Rob Paulsen, you might recognize him. He voiced Raphael in the 1987 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon. He does voices for, a bunch of different characters. Danny Trejo voices Boss Rico. Cassandra Peterson, Elvira herself, voices one of the porno actresses in the beginning. And Deborah Wilson from Mad TV, she voices the Bride of Frankenstein, as well as a bunch of other various different characters. Clint Howard voices Joe Cthulhu, who I think is the bartender at this bar in the film. And Lorraine Newman is also in this. She voices a few different female characters. And you have Joe Alasky, Charlie Adler, Carlos Alaz Rocky, who was in Reno 911 and voiced Rocco in Rocco's Modern Life. Sid Haig reprises his role as Captain Spaulding. So does Bill Moseley as Otis. Harlan Williams, he plays Gerard the Exterminator. So yeah, it's a really eclectic and really diverse and really wonderful voice cast for this movie. And it really does help elevate this film to a higher level because of so many talented voice actors and actors in general that are a part of this project. Also, the animation is really well done. You can tell that the budget is on the screen. There's some really great looking shots in this from an animated perspective. The designs were really vibrant, lively, and just a lot of fun to watch and to look at. A lot of the background stuff, they're not necessarily matte paintings, but they're very similar to that kind of thing. Were really quite impressive. I really enjoyed the backdrops and just the different art direction and just the overall look and vibe of the movie. It's just a really good looking film from an animated perspective. It definitely doesn't look like a cheap film when it comes to its animation. And I enjoyed the music, the different songs that were made for the film that were written and performed by Chris Hardwick and Mike Furman's comedy duo Hard and Firm. El Superbeasto's theme in particular I thought was a pretty good tune. Susie X's song was pretty fun as well. And I have to admit they kind of beat this joke into the ground a little bit too much, where you have like certain events are happening on screen and you have a song that's just describing what was going on, like the zombies, like the Nazi zombie song. But that being said, I still liked some of the moments when they did that because I thought it was actually pretty clever and funny, especially the Nazi zombie song. And for an animated film, it's got a nice amount of action sequences that are genuinely eye-catching and exciting to watch visually. There's gunplay, there's explosions, there's dismemberment, there's blood and gore and guts, and it's just a legitimately entertaining film to watch, despite some of the moments where it really starts to lose you when it comes to its humor or its shock moments. Like, for example, there's a scene where this old guy with pointy nipples and a thong shits rats out of his ass. Like, that's just not really... It's not funny. It's just weird for the sake of being weird. And there are a decent amount of moments like that in the film that I don't think really helped the movie. But there's some fun scenes, like there's a sequence where El Superbeasto runs over Michael Myers in his car, and I think Michael Myers actually talks too. He's voiced by trying to look at who it is who voiced him. It's a pretty well-known voice actor. Rob Paulsen. Rob Paulsen voices Michael when he gets hit by the car. And there's a lot of moments where Rob Zombie actually pokes fun at his own characters. So, especially the scene where he runs over Michael Myers, that was cathartic for me because I really despise his take on Halloween. And it makes me think maybe he did too. Maybe that was Rob Zombie's fuck you to the Michael Myers that he created. Maybe he wasn't very happy with it either. there's a lot of different references in the script to films. Like you see a scene where Dr. Phibes shows up and plays the organ. You also have a sequence with the creature from the Black Lagoon who's going down on the Bride of Frankenstein. There's a cameo from what is basically Jack Nicholson's character, Jack Torrance from The Shining. Uh, that was a lot of fun as a film fan, as a horror fan, to see these little references that were peppered in throughout the movie. And despite the fact that it does get a little rushed in the end, like it seems like it's going to build up to something that's more worthwhile and more grand in terms of its finale. Uh, there's enough interest throughout in terms of wanting to see how things are going to continue to unfold when it comes to this tale, this sordid, sleazy, over the top, offensive tale. Um, it reminded me a lot of ways of something like Drawn Together, which used to air on Comedy Central. And I know that's a very divisive show nowadays, but I used to watch it all the time. I haven't seen it in years, but I always remember going out of my way to watch that show because it was something that you didn't see that much of when it comes to the realm of animation. Animation that isn't squeaky clean, that isn't Disney Channel or Disney, something that is actually willing to be edgy and go places where a lot of animation doesn't go. And I know why it isn't as well received by some people. I can understand why a lot of people don't really get into it because they think it's just too crass, too offensive, too disgusting. But I think it still had its heart in the right place. It's still one of those cartoons that I don't think it really took itself too seriously, and there was enough levity going on throughout that I wasn't really as offended or disturbed by it as other critics have been. Um, but I do have to admit, it does have its problems. I mean, Tom Papa, I think, does a great job voicing El Superbeasto, but he's not really the most likable character. He's essentially a bully. Um, Sheri Moon Zombie, she's more tolerable here, as essentially the one of the many sex symbols in this movie. There's a really great cat fight between her and Velvet Von Black in this movie. And she definitely holds her own and kicks a lot of ass. I actually bought her kicking as much ass as she did in this film because it's an animated movie. It doesn't have to be something that you can buy realistically, that Sheri Moon Zombie is going to be this ass kicker. Also, she was portrayed as this ass kicker from the very beginning, unlike her character Baby in the House of a Thousand Corpses trilogy. But yeah, there are some moments where the jokes really don't land, and I can see why some people don't really get into it because there really isn't like a ton of likable characters that you really root for, and you really like. So I can see why some people don't enjoy the film on that regard, but I enjoy it just because of the animation, because of the music, some of the gags. The elevator gag really cracked me up. I thought it was a really well written bit of awkward humor, and it's just one of those films that, whether or not you like the film, you have to admit that it is unquestionably unique and one of a kind for this particular kind of storyline and this kind of movie. And I just appreciated the fact that Rob had so much passion for this, and it was all over the screen, and that just went a long way for me because there's a lot of films that he's done, especially now that it just seems like he's going through the motions, and I didn't really feel that was the case with this movie. So yeah, overall, I liked it. It wasn't as funny as it could have been. Some of the crass moments are a little bit too much. But from a technical standpoint, when it comes to the animation, it's well put together. It's got a lot, like I said, it has a lot of energy to it that is really enjoyable to watch. A lot of creativity too, like boobs that like punch people in the face and stuff like that. Um, and it's well edited by Brett Marnell, and a great voice cast who do some really good voice work in this. So yeah, I honestly would recommend this if you enjoy the trailer, or it sounds interesting to you, or you like adult animation. I would recommend giving this at least one watch. Anyway, thank you for watching my review of The Haunted World of El Superbeasto, and as always, I'll see you later. See ya.